Alex, there's a lot of different variations and different ways to rig this.
Patterns have been working really well.
This week's Buzz Bite report.
Just keep snapping it off the bottom. This is just a remarkable concentration of fish.
Real good fish.
Oh, she looks so nice. Wow. Unreal. Look at that.
They are heavy.
Oh, look at that.
On today's show, we're talking about early season walleye. This is AnglingBuzz TV. I'm Troy Linder.
And I'm Tony Roach.
You know, here in Minnesota, it's fishing opener this weekend. This is tradition. Many people are excited to put their boat in the water and catch some walleye. What advice would you have, given this interesting spring, for anglers heading out?
You know, for me, fishing opener is kind of that passage into summer. You know, it's that instantaneous summer starts now, and it always starts with tradition. You know, I remember as a young kid going out fishing with my grandfather and my dad, and now life has come full circle. I fish with my dad and my son, and just to see the excitement on his face like I had when I was a kid is great. And what I love about opener, it's all about pitching shallow, especially for walleyes, you know, pitching jigs and plastic, jigs and minnows. I love that shallow water bite. You know, when those fish are condensed either on a rocky point or a feeder creek, or maybe the wind's blowing into a certain area and those fish are just loaded up in there. You know, there's really no wrong way to fish. You know, as I grew up in Minnesota, it was always jig and minnow. But as I got older, I found that fishing jerk baits, fishing crankbaits, jigs and plastics, you know, let the fish tell you what they want on opener rather than you going into the situation thinking you're gonna fish one particular way.
Yeah, that's some great advice for sure. So right now, let's take a closer look at early season walleye.
There's a lot of tradition with walleye fishing. For many, there's the trip up north that no one's missed in 20 years. For others, it's the Walleye Opener, the deer camp of fishing that has introduced generations to the great sport of fishing. And playing bumper boats on a river early in the season just seems so worth it after a long winter. The sweet sound of an outboard drowns memories of an ice auger. Yes, here in the Midwest, we love our walleye. Why? Maybe because of where they live, a remote Canadian wilderness water, small rivers running through the neighborhood, popular lakes and reservoirs across the country, and they roam big and mighty in the Great Lakes. But there's more to it than just that. Well, of course, they're simply delicious, but what about the nature of the walleye? We love their Jekyll and Hyde personality and the challenges they present. Sometimes they want things slow, soft, and subtle. Other times, loud and flashy. Oh, but better be gold flash because silver's been skunked today. And most likely, it's a combination of all these things and more that make walleye king of the north.
Like we mentioned before, here in Minnesota, Walleye Opener is this weekend, but there's some other bites for big fish that have been going on for the better part of a month, and I know you got to experience that recently.
Yeah, you know, you hear about all the Great Lakes fishing and how great it is, you know, out in Lake Erie and all. You're seeing pictures on social media. But I tell you what, one of the funnest bites that I've found is getting out to Green Bay and pitching for these giants that you find out in Green Bay. You know, what's cool about it is it's like hunting for walleyes. You know, I'm using my structure scan, I'm driving around until you see these big pods of fish, and then either pitching rip and wraps on them, jigs and plastics. I mean, there's a wide variety of baits. But once you start snagging into these 10, 12, even 13-pound fish, you want to talk about scratching an early season itch for walleyes, Green Bay is the place to be.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun for sure. And maybe something you want to put in your calendar early season next year. Hey, coming up after this short break, we have our Highlight Destination feature, as well as the first of our Buzz Bite reports as Angling Buzz continues.
Explore Alexandria, Minnesota. Whether it's a long weekend or a week-long loaded with family fun, you'll find plenty of things to do in Alex. Unleash your inner explorer with over 300 lakes, beaches, parks, hundreds of miles of trails, dining, golf, shopping, museums, and history. Alexandria is Minnesota's hidden gem. Go to explorealex.com to find your vacation this season.
Many things have been said about rough waters, but few things have been said about a smooth ride. The revolutionary Smooth Moves Ultra is a mechanical suspension system that features a 4-spring design and a hydraulic shock, providing the most comfortable and durable ride on the market. Through passion, tenacity, and the right equipment, you can overcome even the roughest waters.
Help your marine engine run smoother and last longer with Marine Pro from the makers of Seafoam Motor Treatment. Just pour it in. Fast starts and smooth running power have never been this easy. Seafoam Marine Pro, available at Fleet Farm.
Sportfish Michigan is your #1 source for top charter captains and fishing guides in Michigan. Our network of professionals are full-time anglers with years of experience providing customers with the best possible fishing trip services. Fish for trout, salmon, steelhead on Lake Michigan or its famous tributary rivers, the Traverse City area's world-class smallmouth bass, walleye fishing on the Detroit River and Saginaw Bay, or northern Michigan's spectacular ice fishing. We do it all. Sportfish Michigan. Get out. Get bit.
Welcome back to Angling Buzz. Coming up next, we have our highlight destination feature. Here in Minnesota, here's the big question this week. Where are you going for opener? We're blessed to have a lot of big bodies of water to fish, and what is nice, this time of year, a lot of these big fish are concentrated in shallow water.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Troy. Leech Lake is just that prime example, classic shallow water pitching bite. The lake is so vast with the, you've got great rock points, you've got weed lines you can fish, shallow water flats that hold tons of fish. And the one nice thing is when you find them on Leech Lake, they are loaded. So I always seek out kind of those windy shorelines, wherever the wind's blowing in, that's where the fish are biting on Leech. I love fishing Portage Bay, all the way down to Ottertail, going out to Pelican Island, Bear Island, even down into Walker Bay. There's no wrong way to fish on Leech Lake as long as you're shallow. And really, when you find them, it is a lot of fun. I know a lot of anglers are going to be opening up on Leech Lake. It's just one of those destinations that you've got to get to throughout the summer months.
Yeah, it's an amazing fishery for sure. So right now, let's take a close look at Leech Lake.
About 1 hour north of our hometown of Baxter, Minnesota, is one of the most popular and well-known lakes in Minnesota. It's called Leech. The town of Walker and surrounding areas are a must-see destination in the heart of the state. This area is truly a four-season wonderland. It's not only the fishing that drives people to this region, but it's a popular location for gambling, sailing, boating, four-wheeling, snowmobiling, hunting, camping, mountain biking, shopping, or just enjoying Mother Nature. And if you have a wild side, you may want to check out Moon Dance. It's one of the largest music festivals that happen in the entire state. Oh, and I forgot to mention Pout Fest. The first Eopout Festival was held in February 1979 and has continued until the present. The annual gathering is held in the town of Walker, Minnesota. It is a celebration of Eopout, or burbot, or scientifically known as Loda Loda. From February 21st to 24th, around 11,000 people will be in and around the town of Walker. Now this is way more than a fishing tournament. It's a 3-day party on the ice. You name it, they do it. And it is a beautiful thing to do in the middle of winter when cabin fever can be getting you down. And last year, as part of the promotion for AnglingBuzz Television, Fleet Farm, Leech Lake Tourism Bureau, and Rapala put together a $500 shopping spree at Fleet, $500 of Rapala tackle, and a 2-day stay and guided fishing trip on Leech Lake. Here is a little taste of the 2 days on the water.
Look at that. So this is what we're up here at Leech Lake. We've been fishing for about 15 minutes. And we're on the board. I saw a flash. All right. I got him. Net. Big fish. Get the net. Get the net. Giant fish. Okay, big net. Ready? Got him. Huge muscle. Okay. I'm gonna turn her head that way. Okay. Got her. Scuba. Yeah. All right. She's big. Gonna get her release, get her back in the water.
That is the first muskie I've ever seen caught.
That was a good one.
That was awesome.
That was great.
You know, last season when I was fishing with the contest winners, that was actually about the 3rd week of August, and we were using primarily artificial baits for walleye. And as you can see in the videos, they were up shallow. It was like 6 feet or less. Leech Lake is just an incredible fishery.
Yeah, it's a multi-species mecca. You know, what's fun about going to Leech Lake is you catch so many different species shallow. I mean, it's a great bass lake, whether you like chasing largemouth or smallmouth. Obviously, it's an excellent walleye fishery, known for the muskies, and of course, the panfish and perch are out of this world. You know, I've gone to Leech Lake many times thinking, you know what, we're gonna fish walleyes today. All of a sudden you get into largemouth bass and you end up chasing those. Or northern pike, you know, I've had some great pike fishing on that lake. You're always catching bonus muskies. If you like just catching fish in general, Leech Lake is one of those destinations that you've gotta go to.
Yes, it is for sure. And right now, it's time for the first of our Buzz Bite reports.
Sticking to Leech Lake, let's check in with Toby Cavalli Bob for our first report.
I'm out here kayaking in one of the Leech Lake area little potholes, getting in on some spring crappie fishing. Trying to get a few, maybe get a few for dinner, but mainly just having fun. The ice is off the smaller lakes here in Leech Lake area, and the ice is almost off the rest of the main lake. So crappie fishing, setting up for a nice opener. Everything should be spawned up, done nice and early for the year. And you know, that typical jig and minnow type thing, you know, 6 to 8 feet of water, maybe even shallower at times. That sandgrass, jig and a shiner minnow. It's hard to beat that. We're looking forward to a good opener on Leech Lake. Hope to see you up there.
Thanks, Toby. Now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we have more Buzz Bite reports to come as Angling Buzz continues.
From lawnmowers to lawn games, Fleet Farm has what you need to get the best backyard on the block. Whether it's season it, smoke it, grill it season. Green thumb is an understatement season. Or even, this is the life season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it. Because we have it all. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
Lake Vermilion. Explore. Relax. Reconnect.
Minnesota's most beautiful lake.
Get hooked on our trophy walleye,
That's a beauty.
bass,
My favorite fish.
musky fish.
That's a beauty there.
Things to do? You'll never get bored.
Rooms with a view? We got 'em.
Lake Vermilion. 4 seasons of fun.
According to Minnesota's Department of Natural Resources, in 2017, 97% of boaters surveyed by watercraft inspectors followed Minnesota's clean, drain, dispose laws. Let's keep it this way. Clean aquatic plants and animals from boats, trailers, and equipment. Drain all water from watercraft, including the motor, and keep drain plugs out during transport. Dispose of unused bait properly. Together, we're preventing the spread of aquatic invasive species in Minnesota.
Help your engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam Marine Pro. Get it today at Fleet Farm. And while you're there, enter for a chance to win this boat in the Seafoam Marine Pro sweepstakes. Seafoam Marine Pro, available at Fleet Farm.
Okay, let's do it.
Wow, that's a big boy there.
Unbelievable.
Look at the size of that beast.
Welcome back to Angling Buzz. Next up, we're gonna check in with Captain Chad Diltz in Michigan.
We're starting to see some really nice browns in the tailouts of the spawning gravel. It's just a great time to get out there and get a mixed bag of trout and steelhead and enjoy a day on the river. We also just had our opening weekend of trout and walleye. A lot of walleye anglers got out and got active across the state. We're hitting walleye really good on the Detroit River, Saginaw Bay. People are starting to get some fish, and most of the inland lakes in the lower northern Michigan are fishing really well. If you want to do some jigging, maybe some blade bait casting, that's a great option for the light tackle anglers, or you can do some inline planer board trolling either at dusk or after dark. That can be very effective.
Next up, we're going to check in with Jeff Evans from Wisconsin for a post-opener report.
All of the lakes in the Hayward area are ice-free, and shallow water should be the key for most species, with walleyes being in either a spawn or post-spawn mode. Crappies and panfish will be moving shallow. Pike and bass you'll find in shallow bays as well. A really hot bite that's going on right now is on Lake Superior, trolling for trout and salmon. These bait rigs, T-bone psycho minnows pulled behind planer boards in 5 to 20 feet of water have been an excellent presentation, have been really producing fish. Water temps, key water temps right now are in the mid-40s, so that's where you're going to want to look to find those active fish.
Switching gears, we're going to head up to Lake Vermilion, where Billy Rosner is talking pike and crappie.
Just a heads up on the northern pike regulations this year. Up here in Vermilion, they're falling into that northern zone rule where you keep 2 pike under 30 inches. Everything between 30 and 40 has to go back, and keep 1 over 40. If you've never experienced eating northern pike, they're really great eating fish once you learn how to get those Y bones out, and there's some really great videos out there on filleting northern pike, so check those out if you get a chance. We're coming into our good spring crappie bite up there. If you do get into a good crappie bite out there, remember just keep those smaller fish for eating. Those bigger crappies, please release those and let them go back into the system, and so they can keep that crappie population really healthy on the lake. That is really, really important. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.
Now let's head over to the Alexandria region of Minnesota, where Joe Segura has been keeping tabs on the crappie.
Well, Mother Nature hasn't done us any favors this week. With this cold temps, rain, wind, it's taken our shallow fish that were very concentrated and eager to bite and pushed them right out of those areas. Now we're looking in that 10 to 15 foot area in front of these bays and areas that we're holding them for. So I've been looking at that 10 to 15 foot area, and traditional sonar can be very tough to find them. Using side imaging seems to be key in locating them, and then even then, when you do locate these fish, they're not the most aggressive, but if you dangle a crappie minnow in front of them under a bobber and just a slow presentation, you can usually get some pretty good fish to go. And then if you do get some sun going in for another day or two, they'll start to climb back right into those shallow areas again. So I usually like after about 3 days of good warm sunshine, I mean it'll be rocking again. But for the time being, you're gonna have to push out a little deeper to locate those fish.
Now let's head out west, where Chad Schilling has been having a surprisingly good spring on Lake Oahe.
Been an interesting spring so far. Ever since ice out, we've been sneaking out whenever we can. I actually got trapped by the ice one day and had some excitement. But fishing, unlike most years right after ice out, has been really good here on Oahe. Lots of them fishing that 14 to 18 inch range. Seems like dragging a jig and a minnow, pitching it out a little bit, but working it back super slow. We've found a lot of nice fish, that 35 to 40 foot of water, dragging both bouncers with a plain hook, Lindy rigs with a little floater, or any kind of just small attractant. Has been really good. Not what we're used to, actually. We usually have a really good bite right after the spawn, but right now they're starting to spawn and we're still catching them. The tributaries are super muddy, lots of runoff with all the spring snow, but the main river is holding a few fish. If you can find some clarity, foot to 2 foot of clarity, you'll definitely contact some walleyes. I'm looking forward to a great summer. Hopefully some of you guys can get out and see us.
It gets me super excited seeing all these great walleye reports from across Angling Buzz region. And we have fishing opener this weekend coming up here in my home state of Minnesota, so I'm pretty pumped for that. Now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we have cool products and technique of the week as Angling Buzz continues.
Looking for the perfect fishing vacation? Leech Lake, Minnesota. There's over 112,000 acres of water to explore with fantastic walleye, bass, pike, panfish, and trophy muskies. The fishing opportunities are endless. Leech Lake has it all with over 30 resorts, lodges, campgrounds, and hotels line its pristine shores. Plan your trip. It's Minnesota's original up-north vacation destination.
For the bass that thinks it's a bulldog. For the walleye that thinks it's a freight train. For the tuna that thinks it's a torpedo. For the tarpon that thinks it's a tarpon. You need the mono that thinks it's a braid. Suffix Advance. New advanced mono with HMPE braid molecules for strength, abrasion resistance, and low stretch. Suffix Advance. The mono that thinks it's a braid.
At Donalinger Auto, the customer comes first. That's why they've been in the automotive business for over 50 years. They pride themselves in making real connections with real people. They're auto experts and active community supporters. Buying, leasing, new or pre-owned, Donalinger's top-notch service stands above. They'll keep you on the road and on the water. Stop in for a visit to see the excellent variety or shop at home at DonalingerAuto.com.
And now it's time for our cool products brought to you by Fleet Farm. We're talking about early season walleye. Got a few different style jigs right here in front of me. These are the Fireball jigs and new long shank wide gap hook design. This one, the stand-up jig, a little bit different from the ball head jig. That'll actually keep the shiner up and off the bottom a little bit higher than would happen with like a ball head design like this. This would be good for pop jigging, snap jigging. And another jig, front and center here from Clam. Now these are tungsten jigs. These are actually 30% smaller per size compared to lead jigs. So you get a nice compact jig head design from Clam, the Clam tungsten jigs. And a couple different crankbaits here that work for walleyes. These are the Rapala shad wraps. I like to cast these on like about 7 or 8 pound fluorocarbon. I like the Sky Tiger and Frosted. Those are pretty cool design. Check them out from Rapala, the shad wrap in exclusive colors only at Fleet Farm. And then in front of it right here from Salmo, the floating Hornet series. Now these aren't balsa, these are actually a foam injected bait. Really great action, really great design. The Hornet series from Salmo. After you catch your fish and it's time to fillet them, you want a high quality fillet knife from Bubba Blade, the 7-inch tapered flex fillet knife. This has a 6-inch handle, a 7-inch blade. This has a tapered flex. Flexing the blade is very key to maximizing the amount of the fillet that you get off the fish. I want to check it out from Bubba Blade, the 7-inch tapered flex fillet knife. And a couple braided lines over here. These are great lines for both value and performance. From Suffix, the Performance Braid. These also come in bright colors, which is nice as sort of a strike indicator. These have near zero stretch, so if a fish comes up and kind of nips the bait, you'll see the line jump. That's a great way to have an indicator of those soft, subtle bites. And from Northland Tackle, the Bionic, well, Walleye Braid. Another great braid. This is 8-pound test. And if you're using spinning rods for walleyes, you know, 10-pound, 6-pound, 8-pound braid is absolutely perfect. If you're going a little bit heavier with like 10-pound braid, you could use a fluorocarbon or a monofilament leader. And finally from St. Croix, right here, the Snap Jig rod from the Icon series. I use these a lot. This is an awesome series from St. Croix. You know, you get the St. Croix quality at a great price, but you definitely want to check this out. The Icon series, and specifically, this is the Snap Jig from St. Croix. You get all these products online at fleetfarm.com as well as your local Fleet Farm store. Right now, it's time for our technique of the week.
In the spring of the year, you want some of the best walleye fishing in the country. It's in the Great Lakes. Today we're on Green Bay. We're doing a little walleye fishing. Surface temps are extremely cold, but you fish pretty aggressive to catch these fish. A lot more aggressive, I think, than most anglers think. There's one key element to finding fish out here, and that's finding a lot of these feeder creeks and rivers that come in. There's some shallow water flats mixed with rubble. And really it's all about driving around, using your electronics to find fish and finding big pods of fish. And let me tell you, when you find them, they are super aggressive, and we'll show you exactly how we're catching them. Even though the water's cold, you know, these fish want something that's aggressive, you know, something that's loud and proud. We're using rip and wraps today. Big plastics work well, and it's not that real finesse type of live bait fishing that we're accustomed to fishing in cold water. These fish are really aggressive, and they want something moving, they want something rattling. They're used to feeding off of gobies on the bottom. They want that reactionary strike. Setup's pretty easy. I use a medium rod. This one's a 610 medium with an extra fast tip, something that can get plenty of backbone and hook setting power when I'm casting. The other real key element to fishing these baits is using a braided line with a fluorocarbon leader. And all I'm doing is casting them out and ripping these baits back to the boat, momentarily setting them on the bottom. That's the key element. Oftentimes it's a subtle bite. Even though they're inhaling these baits, it's that slight tick that you feel in the line, and you use it really as a strike indicator. Also, you know, there's some debris on the bottom, obviously zebra mussels, so you can feel everything that's going on with that bait. You can feel the vibration right through the blank right now as I'm jigging these baits back to the boat. Just like that. You know, that's the thing, is you pick it up off the bottom, and guess what? They're right there. That's why it's so important to have that braid fluorocarbon combination. Big pre-spawn females. I mean, that's why you come to Green Bay. Look at that thing. Awesome. There's our fish.
Early season walleye, shallow water. Most of the time you're thinking about like finesse style, slow moving baits, but an aggressive style of fishing with like a lipless rattle bait like we saw there can be very, very effective.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You know, this time of year, there's more than just a jig and minnow. That's what most guys are fishing, but there's other options that sometimes work better. Now, on next week's show, we're gonna be talking about a very important topic, selective harvest.
And we want to remind you, as always, to help stop the spread of aquatic invasive species. Anytime you leave any body of water, clean, drain, and dry.
And don't forget to head over to your local fleet farm, because our friends from Seafoam are giving away a fully rigged Lund boat.
And we also have our sweepstakes here through AnglingBuzz. You can win an awesome weekend up on Lake Vermilion, 2 days of guided fishing, $500 Fleet Farm gift card, $500 worth of Rapala tackle. You can enter online or also in your local Fleet Farm store. Hey, thank you for joining us this week. I'm Troy Linder.
And I'm Nick Linder. We will see you next time.
This week's Buzz Bite Report.
Tony Roach.
Ray Brolstone.
Lee Telkin here.
Brad Durick up here on the Red River.
Muskegon River.
Leech Lake.
Devil's Lake.
Beautiful Lake Vermilion.
Topwater's been really, really fun. Go to the plastics.
Bass like this.
A lot of walleyes like that.
Giant bluegills. Fresh report from Lake of the Woods.
Grand Traverse Bay.
Alexandria, Minnesota. Get out, get fishing,
Have fun.
rock and roll, take care.